This is He Knows the Sport, bringing you that heat and that fire. Derrick Rose, man, that's what I'm talking about, dog. This dude came out and put it out there. He basically said, if I had the load management, and load management existed when I was playing for the Chicago Bulls, I would have still been playing for the Bulls, and my career still would have been what it needed to be. See, and the prediction king strikes again. And the prediction king strikes again. I told you guys, man, more players were going to come around what He Knows the Sport was talking about, because He Knows the Sport always has his thumb and his needle on what's going on. I know what's best, because you have to understand, every player is not built the same when it comes to the NBA. Let me say it again. Every player is not built the same when it comes to the NBA. Everybody don't got the same anatomy and physiology. Certain players have NBA brittle bodies. Certain players don't have that durability where they can play an 82-game season, because it's arduous on the body. All of this running back and forth, jumping up and down. I get it, fans. You want to be entertained. You want to see your best player play for you. You know what I'm saying? That game that you paid for. But if they're not at their best, what are you really getting? Let me say it again. If they are not at their best, what are you really getting? Are you really getting the sum of the product of what you've been given? Got to think about that, man. And see, this is the problem with a lot of people. They're prisoners of the moment, prisoners of the second, and they're short-sighted. They don't look at things from a long-term perspective. Let me say it again. People are prisoners of the moments and prisoners of the second. They are short-sighted. They don't look at the long term of a situation. So I like the fact that Kawhi Leonard said, you know what? Screw you guys. I'm going to invest in me. Let me say it again. Screw you guys. I'm going to invest in me. Derrick Rose, unfortunately, he wasn't able to do that. This is why I like what San Antonio Spurs set up. They said, screw that. NBA can find us all they want. We're going to create this load management because we understand our players better than the NBA understands them. Let me say it again. We understand our players better than the way the NBA understands them. So the truth of the fact of the matter is, we're going to make sure that our players are well taken care of. And they're going to be able to deliver when we need them, which is to do the heavyweight lifting where it matters the most, where legends are made, the NBA playoffs. So this is the truth of the fact of the matter. But I love the fact that Derrick Rose came out and addressed it. Basically, he addressed what He Knows the Sport was talking about. And the prediction king strikes again. And the prediction king strikes again. I always have my thumb and my needle on what's going on. I told you guys, I'm the Yoda of basketball, man. I know what's best for these players. And every player can't play 82 games. It's not in them to do that. And if you're a true NBA fan and a true NBA purist and a true NBA connoisseur, you would understand these things. But no, they're players. They get paid millions of dollars. We're just going to workhorse them, forgetting the human condition part of, hold up, they are human beings as well too. Where's my humanity in understanding that? No, that's the problem. People have become so desensitized, and they've become so much to the point to where they don't even care about anything. It's so much so of a self-preservation, which is the law of the land. And don't get me wrong, I love that bit. But people have taken this thing to an excess to where it's gotten to a level of narcissism, man. Let me say it again. They've taken this thing to an excess to where it's gotten to a level of narcissism. And they don't know how to scale it back, because it's about them and their self-absorption and everything that's associated with self and not others, man. People are not selfless anymore these days, man. There's no selfless acts. And if there are, they're too far and too few in between. Let me say it again. There's not no selfless acts. And if they are, they're too far and too few in between. This is what we're dealing with in this modern day society. So they want these players to go out there and do what they got to do because they're getting paid so much money. But they don't want to sympathize with these players that, hold up, no two players are built alike. No two players can endure the same. No two players can be durable the same. So hold up, maybe this player does need NBA load management so that as a fan, I can enjoy them in the long term. See, this is the problem with people. They're like a short-term investment. They just want to invest in the short term. They don't want to look at the long term. Just like they don't look at their future, which is retirement, and investing in their future selves. They just want to focus on the now and their present selves. That's how they look at a lot of these NBA players. So hats off to Derrick Rose, man, for coming out and saying something and being frank about it and not apologizing. He was the same one that came out so many years ago and said David Stern. I heard him in the All-Star game when he was saying that he was burying all the damn bodies. Whew, I just dropped a napalm. Let me say it again. Because it needs to marinate in the corpus callosum and in the cerebellum. Hear me and hear me. Wow. He was the same one that sat here so many years ago and talked about David Stern at an All-Star game talking about he was burying the bodies. You guys put 2 and 2 together and you guys could understand that. Ever since then, Derrick Rose ain't been the same. He ain't rehabbed from that one. Not only is he not rehabbed from his injuries, he hasn't rehabbed from that. Notice his endorsements and everything associated with him has not been the same. Now, clearly, that some of that could be attributed to his injuries and things of that nature, but there's politics beyond that's involved in the NBA. Don't get it twisted. And he shouldn't have said that, basically, according to David Stern and the powers that be. But I like Derrick Rose and the fact that he's always frank, upfront, and bold about what he says. He doesn't always say the smartest things, but in this situation, he said what was right and what was needed to be said. Let me say it again. He does not always say the smartest things, but in this situation, he said what was right and what was needed to be said. Certain players are going to need NBA load management, just like yours truly, He Knows His Sport, delivered in cold-hearted, unadulterated, cutthroat, truth-telling fashion. Because I know what's best for these players, man. I could already see what these NBA players need. Because I understand not all of them are built the same. You can't expect all of them to give you an 82-game season. Do you guys understand how many NBA careers would have been saved? A la Grant Hill, a la Anthony Hardaway, a la Brandon Roy. Brandon Roy was a special talent that was bone-on-bone knee intrusion. You know what I'm saying? Tracy McGrady and his back spasms. You guys don't understand. Don't get me started on how many careers could have been saved if NBA load management was unctioned and put in place. We would have that many more great players in the NBA. So the NBA really needs to sit down, take the time out, and invest into this, man. And really say, you know what? We're going to create an NBA law called NBA load management. Players that can't give you 82 games, they need to be able to be on a 60-something game load management. It makes sense. Because guess what? If you're not looking at the short term and you're looking at the long term, these players are going to be able to deliver the goods for you when they need to deliver the goods for you. Obviously, you want to make sure the law is not abused, but you want to make sure it's in place to where everyone can profit from it. Let me say it again. Obviously, you want to make sure the law is not abused, but you want to make sure that it's in place to where everyone can profit off of it. It's really that simple, folks. So I'm for NBA load management. I've been for it. He Knows His Sport been talking about this stuff for weeks, going on months now. Let me say it again. He Knows His Sport been talking about this for weeks, going on months. And I'm glad an NBA player followed suit and finally said what He Knows His Sport been saying. This is He Knows His Sport. Check it out.